Hello and welcome back to the Ecuador Insider Podcast.
Hello.
Season 2, Episode 11. We have been negligent in our podcast efforts over the last several months. So this is the first episode we've recorded in a while. So we really wanted to take the time to give a general update really to what's going on in Ecuador, what's happened since we did our last show. There's been a lot of developments really in the business world. There's been a lot of developments here in Vilcabamba, in the community, the market, etc. So we want to talk a little bit about that. We want to talk about COVID, right? This is on a lot of people's minds, things like vaccine passports and things like that. So we sort of want to cover the overall COVID situation in Ecuador and what the response has been, etc. So we think we have a great show for you today. We'll try to get you updated on all things Southern Ecuador, real estate related here in Ecuador. So welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And we appreciate you checking us out. So yeah, let's start, let's start sort of general update. So we did have an election here a while back. We're not going to cover that in any sort of detail because we've done that before. Please check out our previous videos for the election updates. But we do have now, I don't know, when did Lasso take office? Around April, I think. Was that right? Or I don't know.
Time flies. I don't know for sure. It's been 3 months, I'd say.
A little more.
Okay, good. See, there you go.
April sounds about right.
Is that right? Yeah, that rings a bell.
We're going with April.
We're going with April. So anyhow, Lasso's been in office for a while, and so even though the Congress is very divided, and so he hasn't been able to pass a lot of his larger legislative priorities or goals, he has done a lot of things on the margin that are in line with what he promised. And so one of the things that we've seen is just a business climate that's softened. So things that used to be very difficult, permissions that used to be very, very difficult, are being, have been relaxed. Those restrictions have been relaxed. The bureaucracy has been lessened as promised. And this is really welcome news, really, for anything you're doing here. Even if you're not interested in business, you just want to buy a pair of sneakers. You don't want them to cost 4 times what they should. Yeah. And if you're, maybe you want to import something even for personal use, you don't want that to be a huge headache and a huge hassle. And then if you are interested in launching a business or being an entrepreneur or getting involved in real estate investment or any of these sorts of things, it really comes into play there. So we've seen all these sorts of permissions and all these kinds of different aspects of getting yourself. Permissions is really what it is, but set up here to do business is just much easier than it used to be. And again, that's a welcome change because going back several years, Ecuador was pretty low on the list as far as business friendly countries, and it's quickly moving up.
Definitely.
So that's been nice. I think that's kind of played into overall trends as well, right? So I would argue we're seeing sort of a confluence of events, right? We've got a lot of weirdness going on globally that's making people reassess their life and move around and make changes. We've got sort of a good situation in Ecuador in lots of ways, not only politically, but we've got lots of positive momentum here as well. And then we've got the political stuff attracting more investment and more investment dollars. So we have sort of a confluence of events that have really led to a boom. I'm going back to the first podcast. I remember predicting,
right,
a while out, we're going to start seeing that boom, and we're in it now. So, I don't know, and you guys can comment more than I can on this, but I don't know if we've seen a lot of price change in our area per se, but we've seen a huge increase in action. Volume of sales, people coming, people looking, and that gets into all kind of other stuff. But I'll be quiet. Let's, what do you comment on that, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. We could talk about the business climate, deals, sales, types of people that are moving here, the general inquiries, but maybe step back just a little bit to talk about some of the things that we've heard Lasso wanting to implement that maybe hasn't quite come together yet. Like the 5% exit tax, we've been told he's going to get rid of, which is good. You know, you come and buy a house and then, you know, it doesn't work out or something, you can get your money back out of Ecuador without having to pay 5% on that. And so we expect to see him lift that. He did take and lift some 600 different taxes on items to be imported into the country. So computers now have a zero tax, so on and so forth. You know, we think that's going to stimulate the economy. All these different tiendas can get goods for cheaper. They can sell them for a discounted price. Now the locals are like, sweet, now I can afford this. This is what I've always wanted. They start buying, and businesses then have the money and they put it back into the economy. So we're very excited about what that would look like. Some other things with subdividing in properties here in the Loja province, which is really exciting. A lot of the agricultural lands are now able to be subdivided to where then now you can build on these lands, whereas before it was just strictly for agriculture.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were at least restricted for subdivision. Basically what they've done is they've taken all the classifications and moved them down one.
Right.
So if it was classified before, let's say, as reforestation, which is difficult if you're wanting to do stuff with the land, now it's agriculture, which allows you more opportunity. If it was agriculture before, now it's, whatever, I don't even know what they call it, the next level. But basically it's all moved down one level. And so it's just gotten easier in general. They've also rezoned everything. So they've made minimum lot sizes smaller in some places, which is helpful. Lots of different zoning stuff that again has just made maneuverability increase. As a landowner.
Well, so let me comment on that. I immediately thought to myself with the forestation piece, it's like as an environmentalist or something would look at that and be like, oh, so now you can deforest, so you can now make money off the land and whatnot. Like that could be true. So there's actually some real excitement here in Vilcabamba. We've had a lot of conversations with different investors who are wanting to move their money down here and put money into large tracts of land and have sustainable eco communities where they actually make the land better than when they first bought it. So regenerative, everything else. And so there's a lot of people looking at this area in particular as one that they would like to keep in the Valley of Longevity, keep it really nice and pristine and not allow others to come in and buy land just for a profit or something like that. So we're really excited to partner with these people, find them the right land and find these, I guess just help with these projects. So yeah, super exciting.
Yeah, but bottom line, the bureaucracy is lessening, and that is wonderful news from any perspective. Even if you're a really hardcore environmentalist, as we are in a certain sense, right? But even if you're a really hardcore environmentalist, that doesn't mean you want to spend your life dealing with bureaucratic red tape.
Exactly.
So I think that's a positive development regardless of your beliefs and political influences in those ways. Another thing that we've noticed over the last, I would argue, 1.5 to 2 years, I don't know what you guys think about that, but over the last period of time, there's been a massive sort of rebirth of Vilcabamba, where sort of, I don't know, it's kind of cyclical, so maybe you could say, it's just sort of a new cycle, maybe, but I kind of see it as larger than that. But we've had just a massive influx of cool people, like just really cool people, young people, people with families, people of all different ages, but just very cool people doing cool things, into cool things, and the community, it just gets better and better. Like I'm so blown away by how cool this community is, the level of consciousness and just sort of just really good people doing fun things, interacting in nice ways. There's not too much nonsense, if any, really going on, and there's no. People aren't beefing with each other, and everybody's sort of very unified, and there's all these cottage industries, all kinds of people are selling their soaps or their, or their this or their that, whatever it is, and so you have all these cottage industries that provide all this stuff we all want to buy and can't find, but somebody's doing it, and it's gotten so cool for me over the last couple of years.
Right. And I think actually, if you have a trade or a craft, reach out to me, Ryan@abecuador.com. Love to talk to you because I think that there's an opportunity for you to fit in here. There are some things we need. We need people providing some additional services. So whereas I think exactly people are starting to come together and fill in the gaps, there's still quite a bit more gaps to be filled. So it makes it really interesting if you're looking to move here, but you're not sure what you're going to do to provide for your family. I think there could be some things. So run it by me. I'll let you know if we currently have an abundance of that trade, and so it's like, oh, it's a little saturated, or no, we don't have anybody. We need you. If you're a teacher, we need you. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. The community has grown a lot, especially during these times. Like, we've had restrictions all over the world with COVID and the pandemic that's happening, and lots of people are looking for places to relocate, to come and find safe places where their families can be free. And I think Vilcabamba has become is on the map now as one of those places. So
Yeah.
we have an office in town now. I see new faces daily. There's all these new families, new people, travelers, the people coming through really to wanting to relocate here, or at least coming to check it out and explore it. So that's great. That's exciting. The more the community grows, the more people are here, the more opportunities open up, just for business, for example, offering services or products. So I think that there's going to be a lot more opportunities coming up too, the more the community grows. And like you said, we're really in a boom right now. There's really we get 10, 20 emails a day, maybe. Would that be fair to say?
At times, yeah. I mean, it's pretty wild, the inbox. I mean, you wonder why we haven't made a podcast in a while. No excuses, but we're busy. We're very busy, and people this summer came down. They had their trips planned, and we were out, every day with clients. And then we get home, and we're answering your guys' emails and phone calls and stuff like that. So. There's something happening in this area. It's attracting a lot of people, certainly those who really are desiring some freedom, liberties, and some sovereignty, because you can have that here. You can definitely buy a piece of land, year-round growing season. Again, beautiful weather. Right now we're just coming into our rainy season. We're coming out of the dry season, and so it's bumped up about 4 or 5 degrees. For the daytime highs, it feels, at least, so it's a little bit warmer. But again, you're mid 70s to mid 80s year round, so people are buying up the land here so they can grow their own food, share their food with others. So there's a lot of bartering going on, or selling it at the local organic farmers market, and just being a part of something where you can have the relationships and the friendships, like Jesse was saying, without all of the nonsense or the drama. Because there's a lot of people here who are like-minded and enjoy the Valley of Longevity, coming down, getting healthy, clean air, water, organic food, and it's amazing. So
I think you hit on the right sort of keywords there too, right? It's like, if I had to come up with a theme for everybody here, freedom, people kind of loving freedom could be that theme. There's people from all political walks of life and religious walks of life and spiritual walks of life and personal and colors and race and culture and everything else. But most people are pretty oriented towards freedom.
Can I go about my business, please?
Yeah. And that is, if you're looking for that kind of thing, I think this is about as good as you're going to find. So that sort of leads us into the COVID stuff, which we wanted to cover.
Sure.
And so, depending, of course, on what perspective you have on this, you may be interested in different aspects of this conversation, but we kind of want to share as kind of as broadly as we can. I keep looking at the mic instead of instead of the phone, but you may be interested in different aspects of this conversation. But I kind of want to give a little bit of an overview, and we've touched on some of this before, so I'll keep most of that very brief. But Ecuador closed down early, going all the way back to the beginning. Ecuador kind of closed down early, opened up early, was one of the first countries to open up, stayed relatively free throughout COVID. There was restrictions here and there was curfews here and there was different things they put in different provinces and different areas, but in general, Ecuador stayed pretty high on the freedom index, so to speak, during COVID. Certainly a better place to be than Australia or some of those,
New York City,
or New York, or any of that, right? If you're if you're oriented more towards freedom, it's definitely a society that has had their trepidation around the virus. So so people are or have been concerned about it. Certainly people are getting the vaccine and things like that in general, but any attempts to remove any sorts of freedoms as it relates to medical mandates or things like that have been completely and totally defeated, sort of on arrival. So if you're somebody who's concerned about, can I come there without a vaccine? Are they going to require me to get one in the future to live life? Who knows what the future holds, but right now it looks fantastically positive in this regard. And
I'll say no, and if you want to know how I think the answer would be no in the future, again, email me at ryan@abecuador.com and I'll tell you why I think no. But I'm not going to put it out here for YouTube in this case. So.
Yeah, and right.
We probably should have used a different word.
I probably should have used different words.
Hopefully you guys even see this then, I guess, right?
We just got ourselves shadow banned.
But I'll say also, and then Carl, the cases have actually dropped off according to Ecuadorian statistics.
That's right.
So I'm going on a little vacation here, and the country that I'm going to was putting Ecuador on like a high alert or whatever. It's not the extreme, but there's like a high or like a no. But then it dropped off to a no, basically, like they're fine. So Ecuador is cool in that regard. Cases are dropping. Other restrictions in other cantons or regions have now been lifted just because the cases are way down. So yeah, it seems like what they're saying is, thank you everybody for getting vaccinated. It has worked, and so the cases are down, and so I think in general the country is moving on past.
And Carl, I know you want to jump in here. I just want to add one piece to that. We've seen they've even shut down like the COVID ward in hospitals. They've reopened all nightclubs and bars. It's really, just to add to your point, we're really at that point here.
People are playing soccer, right? All that stuff. You want to touch on that? Because I know your kids out there playing. So
definitely. My son does karate in town. There's soccer has started. There's quite a few sports. These guys play basketball. I mean, especially here in the countryside compared to the cities, it's even less restrictions. I would say in the cities now, the extent of what's restrictions is maybe to enter the bank or like a big supermarket, you need to wear a mask. They might take your temperature at the entrance. That's sort of the extent of the restrictions at this point. Yeah. There was some talks about, COVID pass or something along those lines, maybe 6 months back. There was a bit of a political debate about it. My understanding is the Asamblea, the Parliament of Ecuador, ruled it anti-constitutional or unconstitutional to have a COVID vaccine, the mandatory vaccine for Ecuadorians, because the Constitution of Ecuador really protects the freedom to travel, freedom to do commerce, freedom of education, and they can't be any discrimination towards any population for those types of things. Discriminating people from getting those basic freedoms because of not being vaccinated would be unconstitutional. So that was ruled by the Asamblea. I'm very hopeful about that. People here are very happy about that in our community. So I think that's very positive. I think Ecuador is kind of one of the few countries in the world that has, some very strong constitution that they actually follow.
Yeah, for individual rights.
Right.
Individual rights against the body, basically.
Yeah.
So, it's good.
Yeah. No, that's okay. We did it. We're out of here. No, that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, actually, we did cover most of what we want to cover. So let's talk a little bit about the market overall. What are you guys seeing there? You guys are obviously in the muck every day. If someone's listening to this and they're saying, should I come now? Should I come in 6 months? Should I come in 2 years? What kind of climate are they walking into? What are you guys seeing in the market? What are some of the trends?
I mean, again, it's busy. So, Carl and I are the ones that are on the front lines here, hanging out with clients, showing them the countryside, showing them the houses, the properties, depending on what you're into. So, I'd say, twofold. All right, so right now there is a bit of a shortage on homes under $200,000, for example. But we're working with some investors right now to buy up certain lots and build out some homes on those lots, and so I'd say those would be ready to go within a year. So you could time it right where you work with me and reach out, and I'll let you know when that's ready and give you the renders and let you know what it's going to look like, and you can put a pre-order on that and have your house for next year ready to go. So there could be something like that, under 200,000. And then, I think we'll have some other homes more expensive than that, like larger, nicer build on a nicer property, because there is a bit of a shortage. I think, like 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago, a lot of people came and built their homes here, and it was like their creative dream. And so some of them are very unique, and they don't fit everybody's taste. So I think Vilcabamba is changing a little bit in that way. Some of the homes that are being built now are a bit more open concept, modern design, and so I'd see those coming in the next 2 years. But if you're looking to build your own home because you want that creativity and the uniqueness and you want to put in all of the effort, then I would come now, right? I would come buy the lots now, because I would say a lot of the good lots are starting to come on the market. So now is the best time to reach out to us so that you can take a look. A lot of the times we have pocket listings that are not on our website.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think you've seen all of our stuff, you haven't. Please reach out to Carl or I.
Mm-hmm.
It's Ryan at abecuador.com, Carl at abecuador.com. Either one of us.
With a C.
With a C, Carl, with a C. And we'd be happy to help. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. It's true. I mean, I've said that before. Same thing with the rental market. Like, all the best rentals are taken. In a way, kind of like the best lots are either taken or are being taken, but at the same time there is these new rules, these new legislation for subdivision, so that makes new properties that before would have been these large properties are being subdivided as well, which makes more nice properties available. It's not like all the best places are taken, but in a way some of the really good spots are usually taken. But more things are coming up. What I see mostly is there's a lot of young families or families with children coming down, sort of wanting to protect their families, like I said earlier, wanting freedom. There's also still the retirees, that come here to retire. But yeah, we see new people all the time. There's the community is growing. It's actually really nice.
I want to address something that I've noticed over time. A lot of times people have an objection to the prices in Vilcabamba and Malacatos, and sometimes they say some weird things like about gringos and gringo price, all this kind of stuff. But I just want to touch on that for a minute. So, you got to decide what you're looking for. If you're looking for an amazing community and to be close to things and close to the airport and close to the city, and you're coming to Malacatos, Vilcabamba, and these sorts of valleys, they're expensive, and they're not expensive because of foreigners. They're expensive because they're really sought after areas locally, right? Lojanos, people from the city, they want to be in these areas. The climate is perfect. There's very little crime. They're beautiful places to live. So they're expensive. You may be looking for that, right? And so if you're looking for that and you want to come to this area, you're not going to find your 200 hectare finca that's 200,000 or 300,000 or something, that's very inexpensive, that has your waterfalls and your streams and all that stuff. You got to go a little further out for that. That's available in Ecuador, right? So if you're looking for that value, like if you're looking for that large property that has all the nature stuff and all that kind of things, and you're looking for that at a great price, that's absolutely available. You got to go a little further out. And we work in all these areas, right? So if that's what you're looking for, great. Like, let's take your budget. Let's get you the most bang for the buck. Let's get you the biggest property with the most water and the most this and that and all the characteristics you're looking for. But don't get mad because it's non-Vilcabamba. It just isn't. Look behind us, right? We've got, this is Vilcabamba. It's just a valley, and then you've got the mountains. And so there's a limited amount of space. It's a very popular valley. Malacatos as well, very popular valley. And so people from the city are buying little properties here all the time, and so they keep the price. They keep the price where it is. So I've noticed a lot of times people have this idea maybe about Ecuador and it should be cheap, and then they see, well, how could this be $30 a square meter or $20 a square meter or $50, whatever. These are the local prices. It has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with foreigners. Foreigners play an absolutely minuscule role in the market here. And if you're looking for that rural dream, that's no problem either. We just got to get away from these valleys.
Yeah, I was with a client yesterday, and he was like, "Hey, talking." It was either yesterday or the day before, but we were talking about Malacatos, and he was like, "Wait a second. So all of those homes that I see in Malacatos Valley, they're not expat homes?" And I'm like, "No, they're all from 95% all from people from Loja, and they're really nice homes, you know. And he was just like blown away, and I was like, exactly my point. Yeah, they've filled that valley and they've spilled into Vilcabamba and littered Vilcabamba, and then the expats came and we're just participating in what was already existing. And so we get a lot of comments on YouTube and this, that, and the other thing, and just reaming us like they know exactly what's going on. But you know, feet on the ground, the reality is we play a small part in driving real estate prices up in this area.
That's right. I would even say as far as saying that local people, like the city people, are willing to pay more than the gringos for properties, you know, than the expats, because they know the value, you know. And actually, Vilcabamba is still going to be cheaper per square meter than the city of Loja, for example, you know, where they come from. So here they're like, oh, that's half price from what's in Loja. So they're actually willing to pay those higher prices. It's a very sought after area, as you said. I mean, it's a very desirable climate, and we've had people from Quito, we've had people from Cuenca buying properties down here, you know. Guayaquil. Especially now, a lot of people can work online, so why not coming into countryside and being able to work on the internet rather than being in the city, you know, with what cities have. Yeah, I think Vilcabamba is a special place. Of course, you can go a little further out if you want to have a little cheaper land, but it's not Vilcabamba, but it could be close enough to Vilcabamba, definitely.
Sure.
But the community is here, you know. It's
right. Sorry, continue. No, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's just like that's sort of the trade-off, right? It's like, do you want the community and to be that close to it, or do you want to kind of go do your own thing, or even build your own community a little further out? And that's really kind of the decision. It's like you want that big piece of land further out, cheaper, with, you know, interesting characteristics, or do you want to be close to the community where you have your friends and your activities and all that sort of stuff? And that's like, we've all talked about those things over the years, even in our own lives, right? Like as time goes by and we make plans and decisions, and obviously all of us have stuck close-ish to the community for now. But it's that's really kind of the decision I think a lot of people will be faced with.
Yeah, and a lot of people who want to move down here, they don't speak Spanish. And they keep asking me, is it all right if I move down if I don't speak Spanish? There's enough people here that, yes, you can move down here without speaking Spanish and just learn some of the basics. The locals are used to people with the translate apps and, you know, making things happen. And a lot of the Tienda people understand English. And so for sure you can get by. And you can't really get by if you're out in some of the other rural towns that are outside of Malacates, well, really outside of Vilcabamba. Even Malacates would probably be a little bit more difficult. So yeah, that's the specialty of this area. And
but we also know a really good Spanish teacher that we can recommend.
Sure.
And actually, I've seen a kind of a trend also that foreigners come here and do these little English classes for children and people in the neighborhood and stuff. So I think the younger generation is learning English a lot more.
Sure.
They can see the benefit, you know, of working with expats, and it's very multicultural. So English is the second language here, I would say.
Yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I want to jump back for a second to the sort of idea of, you know, mandated medical procedures. You know, you're seeing in New York and other places in the U.S., right, land of the free idea, right, Constitution, and sort of the birthplace of some of that stuff. You know, you're seeing mass firings of nurses, for example, or teachers, or different groups of society that literally can't work anymore unless they take on a medical procedure. And there's zero of that here, literally zero. And I think you did say that, but I just wanted to say it more clearly.
Right.
There is none of that whatsoever. Yeah. So you can be a teacher, a doctor, a fireman. You can be any walk of life. You can work for the government. You know, there isn't a walk of life or a job or anything where you're required to take a medical procedure, show proof of a medical procedure, etc. And I think that is important to a lot of people.
Right. No, I actually heard from a worker of ours that their daughter, I think, goes to university, and she had to sign a waiver saying that she did not want to partake in a medical procedure, and she would take responsibility for it. They have to sort of sign a waiver like
that, right?
But there's no mandatory anything.
Probably should have used medical procedure the whole time.
Yes.
You might have to bleep out the words. Just, I don't know if this will.
YouTube is censoring for those of you who don't know.
YouTube censors that. They just don't like to anything, I guess, unless if it's approved through their channels that can talk about the things.
Sure. Sure, and then part of it too. It's like we've seen such an influx of energy and creativity and capital. I'm so excited for the future of this area. Like we were talking about this earlier today. There just seems to be some kind of magical thing taking place where funds and creativity and energy, as I mentioned, are just sort of coming to this area and are saying, let's do a whole bunch of really cool stuff. And a lot of times they're coming to ask us for help with it, which we're really happy to be involved in some of this stuff. And that all just leads me to believe, along with the pace of development and everything else that's kind of happening, it just leads me to believe that it's going to be it's going to be a great place to live for a long time. It would take a lot to get me out of here. I mean, I couldn't be, it's like I came down here, 8 years ago, and these are big decisions. I came sight unseen, it was kind of just, I just did it, right? And that's that can go well, that can not go well. And there were times where I was kind of like, ugh, there was definitely a couple of times politically where I was a little nervous as to what was going on in the country and different things that happened. But, to be at this point now, I mean, I'm so grateful I'm not still living in New York City where I moved here from, or another place where there's some kind of more weirdness going on or whatever. I just couldn't be happier with how that decision has played out.
Yeah, it's really exciting times.
All right, well, we kind of covered it. This is a short one. Do we want anything else before we wrap up?
No, I mean, I think short and sweet is good.
Cool.
Hopefully you made it here till the end. If so, we appreciate your support of the YouTube channel. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber already, which I think about 75% of the people who watch our videos are not subscribers, so we would really appreciate if you just hit that subscribe button, give a thumbs up to this video if you like the content, and of course hit the bell if you want to be notified of any of the upcoming videos we produce. We're going to try to make more content videos and podcast videos just to educate you guys on the area, give you tips and educate you basically. So time permitting, and we look forward to seeing you guys again here soon.
Yeah, hit that bell also, and leave us a comment if you have questions that you want us to cover. Please put them in the comments. Like, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to interact with you. We'd love to answer your questions specifically. As Ryan mentioned, like our goal here is just to educate you and inform you in the most accurate way we can. So if there's stuff we're missing, if there's stuff you'd like to hear about, please let us know.
Awesome. All right, till next time, guys. We'll see you.
See you next time.